You're about to find out why some of the richest and most prepared people on the planet aren't buying stocks, bonds, or ETFs. They're buying gold and silver. Not tomorrow, right now. And if you think it's just a doomsday prepper thing, you're dead wrong. Because this has nothing to do with fear. It has everything to do with math, history, and control. Let me ask you a serious question. If the government could print as much money as it wanted, forever, without consequences, why are you still working for it? Since 1971, when Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard, money stopped being real. It became paper, fiat, a promise backed by nothing. And since then, the value of that dollar in your wallet has been dropping like a stone. And the banks? They're not warning you. Wall Street? They're too busy selling you the dream. But the people who understand the real game, the Robert Kiyosakis, the insiders, the asset builders, they're not buying stocks. They're not saving dollars. They're buying gold. They're buying silver. Why? Because they've seen this movie before. Boom, bust, bailout, repeat. And they know the next crash isn't just coming. It's already started. In this video, I'm going to break down why the smartest investors are moving fast into hard assets, how gold and silver are more than just shiny rocks, and how they could be your only real protection against the collapsing dollar, the bloated bond market, and the central bank madness. Let's dive in. In 1971, President Richard Nixon did something that would change the course of history and your wallet forever. With the stroke of a pen, he took the US dollar off the gold standard. What did that mean? Simple. For the first time in modern history, our money was no longer backed by anything real. No gold, no silver, just government promises. Overnight, the dollar transformed from a certificate of value into a piece of paper, a belief, a hope, a lie. Robert Kiyosaki puts it plainly. This is trash. He's not exaggerating. Once money became fiat, currency backed by nothing but trust in the government, it started to rot from the inside out. That's because politicians could now print it endlessly. Every time they ran out of cash, they just fired up the printing press. And what happens when you print too much of anything? It loses value. This isn't theory, it's inflation. And it's been quietly stealing from you every single day since 1971. You feel it when your rent goes up, when your groceries cost more, when your paycheck stays the same, but your buying power keeps shrinking. That's not just the market. That's the silent tax they never told you about. You work hard, save what you can, and try to do the right thing, only to find that the dollars you saved last year now buy less gas, less food, less everything. That's not financial planning. That's a rigged game. While you're saving dollars, the government is devaluing them. While you're putting in hours at work, they're printing hours of your life away. This is the illusion of wealth. You think you're building, but you're standing on sand. The rich know this. That's why they don't save money. They save gold. They save silver, because they know the truth. Paper money is the greatest scam ever sold. Most people think the bank is a safe place to store their money. They think it's sitting there, waiting for them, growing quietly with interest. But here's the truth. The system doesn't want you to know. The moment you deposit $1, the bank legally has the right to lend out up to $10 against it. It's called the fractional reserve system, and it's the biggest financial scam hiding in plain sight. You put in $1. The bank turns around and lends $10. Where do the other $9 come from? Thin air. They create it. Digitally. Instantly. Debt becomes money, and money becomes debt. That's the game. And while you're grinding to earn every dollar, the banks are multiplying yours by 10 and charging interest on money that didn't even exist 5 seconds ago. And what do they give you in return? A pathetic interest rate. Maybe 1% if you're lucky. Meanwhile, inflation eats away at your purchasing power at 5%, 7%, sometimes even more. That's called a negative real return. You're losing money every year by saving. You are literally being punished for trying to be responsible. Now, here's the punch in the gut. The middle class has no idea this is happening. They save in cash. They trust the system. They take advice from people who've never built wealth. They're told to save for retirement, buy a house, invest in mutual funds, and everything will work out. But it's a lie, a slow bleed. And the longer you play by the rules, the worse off you get. The rich, they borrow from the banks, buy real assets, and collect cash flow. The poor and middle class, they deposit money, earn nothing, and get taxed on the crumbs. That's the silent heist. It's not about robbing your wallet, it's about draining your future. And it's been happening your entire life. Savers are losers. It sounds harsh, maybe even offensive. But Robert Kiyosaki didn't say it to insult anyone. He said it to wake people up. Because in today's financial system, saving money doesn't make you smart. It makes you a target. Think about it. Your grandparents saved money in a tin can, a bank vault, or under the mattress. And back then, it worked. Their dollars held value. They earned interest. Prices were stable. But that world is gone. Today, your money is printed by the trillions, devalued daily, and taxed just for existing. Every time the government creates more currency, the cash you worked for becomes worth less. Not worthless overnight, but slowly, methodically, invisibly. Let's say you save $10,000. You feel proud, responsible. But inflation is running at 5% per year. That means in just 1 year, your $10,000 only buys $9,500 worth of goods, and that's before taxes and bank fees. You didn't save money, you lost it. Quietly, painfully, legally. Meanwhile, the rich aren't saving cash. They're using it to buy assets, things that put money into their pocket whether they work or not. Rental properties, businesses, intellectual property, gold, silver, cash flow. They're not trading time for money, they're making money work for them. The middle class, they're taught the opposite. Go to school, get a job, save money, and retire. They work hard their whole lives for paper that's designed to lose value. They believe saving is safe, but it's not. It's slow-motion financial suicide. Kiyosaki flipped the script. Don't work for money. Own the system that prints it. Don't save dollars, save assets. Because in an economy built on inflation, printing, and debt, the saver gets crushed and the investor gets rich. So the next time someone tells you to stash cash in a savings account, remember, savers aren't stupid. They're just playing a rigged game with broken rules. In 2008, the housing bubble burst and brought the global financial system to its knees. Millions lost their homes, their savings, their retirement. It was the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression, or so we thought. Because what's brewing right now makes 2008 look like a warm-up round. We're not dealing with a housing bubble anymore. This time, it's everything. Stocks, bonds, real estate. The entire system is inflated beyond reason. This is the everything bubble, and it's already leaking. Let's be clear, the market isn't built on fundamentals anymore, it's built on cheap money and hype. Trillions printed out of thin air to keep the illusion alive. Zombie companies kept afloat by debt. Real estate prices pumped sky high by artificially low interest rates. Stocks trading at absurd multiples, not because of profits, but because there's nowhere else to put the money. Even bonds, once considered safe, are so bloated they're ready to burst. And yet, people still believe the Fed can engineer a soft landing. They think this time it's different. That's exactly what they said in 2008. Now, picture this, a giant football stadium, completely empty. In the center of the field, a single drop of water falls every minute. But here's the catch, it doubles in size every 60 seconds. 1 drop, then 2, then 4. Sounds harmless. But by minute 45, only a few feet of water cover the field. The crowd barely notices. By minute 50, the entire stadium is underwater. That's how exponential collapse works. It looks fine, until it's not. And by the time the public notices, it's too late to get out. Right now, we're not in minute 1. We're in the final 5. The cracks are already forming. The reverse repo market is bleeding. Debt is skyrocketing. Confidence is fading. But the mainstream keeps dancing in evening gowns, sipping champagne, convinced the party never ends. That's how every crash starts, with confidence, and ends with chaos. The everything bubble is already popping. Most people just haven't looked down to see the water rising. Long before there were dollars, euros, or yen, there was gold. There was silver, the original money, not printed, not promised. Dug out of the earth, heavy in the hand, real. Every empire that has risen and fallen has done so under the watchful eye of these metals. Egypt, Rome, Greece, Britain. When their currencies collapsed, their economies crumbled, and their people panicked. They always fell back on the same thing, gold and silver. Because deep down, we all know what real value feels like. Unlike fiat currency, you can't print more gold. You can't mint more silver in a central bank spreadsheet. You can't counterfeit it with a keystroke. It takes work. It takes time. It's limited by nature itself, and that's why it holds power. That's why when paper dies, gold survives. It's not just shiny. It's honest. In times of peace, governments pretend gold doesn't matter. They mock it. They call it a relic. But watch what they do, not what they say. Because when things get shaky, the central banks rush in. Quietly. Consistently. They buy gold by the ton. Not stocks, not bonds. Gold. Why? Because they know the game. They know the real rules. Gold doesn't default. Silver doesn't inflate. These metals don't care who's president, what the Fed says, or how many trillions are being printed. They exist outside the system, and that's exactly why they're valuable. Gold and silver are not investments. They're insurance. They're protection. They're the fallback when the illusion fades and the real economy comes knocking. They've been money for 5,000 years, not because someone said so, but because time proved it. When fiat collapses, and it always does, people run to what's real. Always have. Always will. That's why the smart money isn't waiting. It's already moving into metals. Because when the storm hits, it's too late to build the ark. Gold and silver don't just store value, they store trust. And in a world where trust is vanishing, that's the most valuable asset you can own. For most people, money is comfort. It's safety. It's something to hold on to protect, to save, just in case. The poor and middle class are taught that cash is security, that the number in your bank account is a badge of stability. So they work hard, they stash away their savings, they chase that feeling of control, even if the value of what they're saving is quietly slipping through their fingers every day. They don't question the system, they just obey it. Go to school, get a good job, save money, invest in a 401k. Trust the banks, trust the government, trust the dollar. That's the script, and it's a trap. The rich? They see money completely differently, and to them, cash is not something you hoard. It's something you use. It's a tool, a lever, a way to acquire real assets that generate income. They don't save money, they save gold. They don't store dollars, they store value. Kiyosaki says it clearly. Cash is trash. And once you see what's happening behind the curtain, it makes sense. Why save something that's designed to lose value? Why work your whole life just to stockpile paper that the government can print by the trillions? The rich use money to buy things that pay them. Apartment buildings, oil wells, businesses, intellectual property, assets that spit out cash month after month, whether they work or not. That's the mindset shift. Poor people work for money. Rich people make money work for them. The psychology is everything. The poor see risk in investing. The rich see risk in not investing. The poor fear losing money. The rich fear missing opportunity. One group clings to cash, hoping it'll save them. The other trades cash for value, knowing that real wealth lives in what you own, not what you save. The difference isn't income, it's mindset. And until you flip the switch and stop treating cash like a finish line, you'll stay stuck in the same cycle. Saving money isn't bad, but saving the wrong thing is. The rich don't trust paper, they trust gold. And that makes all the difference. When most people hear the word debt, they flinch. They've been conditioned to believe it's dangerous, something to be feared and avoided at all costs. But that's only true for bad debt. Debt used to buy liabilities. The rich use debt differently. They use it to buy assets, real assets, things that put money in their pockets every month. And they use that strategy to build tax-free wealth that most people can't even imagine. Imagine this. You borrow money at low interest, buy an apartment building, improve it, raise the rents, and refinance. You pull cash out, tax-free, and use that money to buy even more assets. The rich don't get richer by working harder. They get richer by understanding how the system works and using it. Now, here's where gold and silver come in. While real estate plays offense, producing cash flow and appreciation, metals play defense. They protect that wealth. They're not meant to generate income. They're meant to store value when the dollar starts to collapse and the markets go into chaos. When inflation hits, interest rates spike, or the financial system wobbles, gold and silver don't panic. They hold the line. That's the strategy. Offense and defense. Real estate grows your wealth. Gold and silver protect it. One puts money in your pocket, the other guards what you've earned. And here's the part no one tells you. When you invest in real assets, like real estate, energy, or even certain types of businesses, you get tax breaks, depreciation, amortization, cost segregation. You can legally pay zero in taxes while your cash flow increases. Meanwhile, the person saving in a bank is getting taxed on crumbs. Gold and silver don't produce income, but they preserve your purchasing power. They're your financial seatbelt. When the crash comes, and it will, those who only played offense will get hurt. But the ones who held metals? They'll stay standing. Because real wealth isn't just about growth, it's about protection. The rich know this. They build with debt, they protect with gold, and they sleep very well at night. From the moment you're old enough to earn a paycheck, the programming begins. Go to school, get a good job, work hard, put money into your 401k. Trust the system, let Wall Street handle the rest. It sounds responsible. It sounds smart. But it's a trap. A slow, calculated trap designed to keep you working for decades while someone else gets rich off your blind loyalty. 401ks, ETFs, mutual funds. These aren't wealth-building tools, they're containment zones. They're designed to make you feel like you're investing when in reality, you're just handing over control to the very institutions betting against you. Wall Street sells the dream of the long-term game while quietly preparing for the next crash. They don't care if the market tanks because they've already made their money on fees, commissions, and insider trades. You think your retirement is diversified because you're in 10 different funds. But what are those funds made of? Stocks, bonds, paper. You don't own anything. You own pieces of promises, traded in a rigged casino you can't see, can't control, and aren't invited to play in. And when the market crashes, and it will, you'll be the last to know and the first to lose. Now compare that to gold and silver. They're not tied to Wall Street's games. They don't depend on a CEO's quarterly earnings or the Fed's next press conference. They don't vanish in a flash crash. They're real. They're physical. You can hold them in your hand, and most importantly, they're yours. Gold and silver don't promise to grow. They promise to exist. They're not speculative, they're foundational. When the markets go haywire, they don't panic. They preserve. If you're relying on a 401k or mutual fund to save you, you're betting your future on a system that profits when you lose. But metals? They don't play that game. They're not in it for the short term or the hype. They're in it for survival, and that's why the smart money, real wealth, doesn't sit in Wall Street's hands. It sits in a vault. Quiet, safe, untouchable. Robert Kiyosaki doesn't just talk about gold and silver, he buys them. A lot of them. He owns tons of physical gold and silver. Not stocks, not ETFs, the real thing. He even owns gold mines. Why? Because he understands something most people ignore until it's too late. When the system starts to crack, you don't want promises. You want possession. After more than 44 years in finance, business, and investing, Kiyosaki has seen the patterns. He's lived through the crashes. He watched inflation explode in the 70s. He watched the dot-com bubble burst. He saw 2008 wipe out millions of people's retirements overnight. And every time, it's the same story. Paper gets burned, assets get crushed, and people panic. But those holding real, tangible wealth? They survive. Some even thrive. That's why Kiyosaki stopped playing the paper game. No mutual funds, no 401k, no Wall Street roulette. He shifted everything into hard assets, things you can see, touch, and control. Real estate, oil wells, cattle, and yes, gold and silver. Not just because they store value, but because they exist outside the system. When the banking system freezes, when markets close, when currencies collapse, gold still has value. Silver still trades. Real wealth still moves. He's not waiting for a bailout. He's not hoping the Fed sticks the landing. He's preparing, quietly, strategically, because he's seen what happens when people trust paper more than reality. He's talked to billionaires, bankers, military officers, and insiders, and they all know the same thing. This next crash isn't just coming, it's already begun. So what is Kiyosaki doing right now? He's doubling down. More gold, more silver, more real assets, because he's not gambling. He's positioning. And he's telling everyone who will listen, don't save money, save gold. Don't trust the system. Learn how it works and get out before it eats you alive. Experience matters. And after 4 decades of watching empires rise and fall, Kiyosaki isn't guessing. He's acting. The only question is, are you? The signs are everywhere. Fiat currencies are crumbling. Markets are bloated on fake money and false hope. And the dollar in your pocket, once a symbol of strength, is dying a slow, quiet death. The world is changing. The system is cracking. And the people still clinging to the old rules, the go to school, get a job, save money dream, are about to wake up in a nightmare. You can already feel it. Groceries cost more. Rent keeps rising. Your paycheck doesn't stretch like it used to. That's not just inflation, that's theft. Silent, legal, engineered. And the worst part? Most people don't even realize they're being robbed. They trust the news, they trust the Fed, they trust their retirement accounts, and they'll keep trusting, right up until the moment it all collapses. But it doesn't have to be that way. This is your wake-up call. Not in a few months, not when the headlines scream recession. Now. This is your chance to get educated, to start asking the hard questions, to stop playing by broken rules and start building your own system. One that works, one that lasts. Gold and silver aren't magic. They're not a get-rich-quick scheme. They're protection. They're truth in a world full of lies. They're the foundation you build on when everything else is smoke and mirrors. The rich know this. The insiders know this. And now, you know it too. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to understand everything overnight. But you do have to start. Because once the crash hits, once the panic sets in, it's too late to prepare. The doors will close, the shelves will empty, and the window will slam shut. So, if you've been waiting for a sign, this is it. Don't wait for permission. Don't wait for the crash. If this message hit you in the gut, good. It was supposed to. Because we're not here to sugarcoat the truth. We're here to expose it. Most people will ignore everything you just heard. They'll keep saving paper, keep trusting Wall Street, keep waiting for the government to save them. And when the crash comes, they'll be the ones crying, "Nobody warned me." But you can't unsee this. Now you know, and once you know, you have a choice. You can keep playing their game, or you can start building your own. So here's what you do next. Start learning. Start stacking. Start moving. Whether it's a single silver coin or your first piece of gold, just start. Shift your mindset. Protect your future. Build your foundation with real assets, not fake promises. And if this opened your eyes, share it with someone else who needs to wake up, your family, your friends, the people you care about, because in the next 5 years, they'll either thank you or wish they had listened. Hit that like button. Subscribe for more real talk they won't teach you in school, and drop a comment below. What's your next move now that you know the truth? Until next time, stay smart, stay free, and remember, don't save money, save gold, save silver, and take control of your financial future before someone else does.